Look, guys, the Chicago Bears, they just got away with highway robbery. Let's have some fun, all right? It's like the Bears are on a crime spree. Grand theft against the Bengals, and now a more believable steal from the Giants. Let's call that petty theft. But the real crime, it's what the Bears perpetrated against the rest of the NFL by grabbing C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I mean, he was just sitting there. No one wanted to take a chance on him. The Bears did take a chance, and they were rewarded last week with 6 tackles and a sack, and that's after being on the team for just a couple days. But this feels different. And it's kind of summed up by NFL.com's Bobby Kounick. He wrote on November 9th, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is in the running for midseason pickup of the year. He represents another spark plug for a defense that entered Week 10 as the league's most opportunistic. And then they added CJ. I don't think that's an easier way of saying his name. They added CJ. They added his takeaway to bring its season total to 20. So what happened this week? This is after he had a little more time to settle in. We're talking about a game-high 9 tackles, 2 sacks in Sunday's win. That's along with the pivotal forced fumble on Jackson Dart. That proved to be a turning point in the game. He sacked Russell Wilson after that for an 11-yard loss on 3rd and 7 from the Giants' 38-yard line, and that was with 2:53 remaining. That forced the Giants to punt just before the Bears' game-winning drive. I mean, this was just so key. And then on top of that, let's go to the next one. He just tied an NFL record. That's right, he tied an NFL record. Let me tell you what it is. He's just the second defensive back in the NFL to have three plus sacks in his first 2 games while with a new franchise. And that's since sacks became a stat in 1982. I don't have any more crime things here. Let's stop the little lounge act. But we're looking at Gardner, 27. He was in the unfamiliar position of spending about 6 weeks at home as a free agent. And that was so uncomfortable for him. He was just waiting for an opportunity, and I think he's going to fit just fine with the Chicago Bears. This is straight from him. I was home for almost 2 months, bro. Missing ball, being around this group. Y'all brought the love back for me. I'm just happy to be part of the great group. Let's keep this rolling. Now, when a player bounces around like he has this year, right, obviously the player is part of the problem. I'm going to be very honest with that. You guys know that he has a history of being maybe a head case, depending on whether he's on your team or not. Didn't work out with his 2 stints with other teams this summer, but obviously the Bears, they bet on him when no one else would. And this might be the missing ingredient to bringing him into the fold. More from him. An edgy defensive back, a guy who can play safety, nickel, or matchup underneath. Gardner-Johnson, he was exactly a player defensive coordinator Dennis Allen stumped for before the Bears signed him. And this is a little more from him. Look, it's just a blessing to be here. The narratives and the scrutiny. But you know, when you run into a group of people, a great group of coaches that believe in you, people believe in you, I think all that goes out the window when they just see a person and you can come in and just adapt and adjust, like you said. Come in and play right away. Make an impact on the team. And after that, the Bears, they found themselves in a unique situation leading up to this. They were a team that was starting to ascend, starting to form an identity. Gardner-Johnson does well with a team that's winning. That's when his attitude's the best. But the thing is, CJ, he's also able to add to the team someone who knows how to win football games and sustain success. So let's kind of look at this. Mark Potash pointed out last month, the 5 teams that Gardner-Johnson played full-time on, they didn't experience even one losing season. So he was part of a team that went 13-3, 12-4, 9-8, 14-3, 14-3. He went to the Super Bowl twice with a championship last season in Philly. So the guy has an idea of how a successful franchise, how a successful team is supposed to function. And now the Bears have another advantage now. The Bears have a defensive coordinator that knows CJ extremely well. He knew how to unlock his talent and do so immediately. No ramp up necessary. Another advantage the Bears had on bringing CJ onto this team. You guys know they worked together in New Orleans from 19 to 2021, completely clear that Allen knows how to incorporate and use Gardner-Johnson. but he did have a turbulent start to 2025. So let's actually give you the whole story because I don't want to sugarcoat this. This is not good to see in a player coming on your team. So he started the season with the Texans. He was traded from Philly. Houston cut him after only 3 games, and then he had a little cup of coffee with the Ravens practice squad. Nothing came of that either, and I think this reunion with Allen is exactly what he needed, a little change of scenery. You're looking at Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon both missing significant time. The Bears secondary had a huge void, and the team still misses those 2 guys dearly, but Gardner Johnson, I guess he's given the secondary and the whole defense really a much needed shot in the arm. And this is what our defensive coordinator had to say. I do think that the growth gets accelerated because he's been in this system before. Even though there may be a few new things, terminology might be a little different in how we're playing things, maybe a little bit different, but it's still not too far off from where he was during his time with us before. It's been a while since he's played in that spot. He's been in this system, great for his recall. I think that just goes to show you he's a football guy. He understands football. He's a guy that you can give him the parameters of what you're looking for, and he can figure it out. He can figure out how to make it work. That's good to see. So now we've got a crazy talented player, a guy who is readily available in the midpoint of the year. That's almost never possible, and the Bears got him essentially for free. No trade, no cap crunch, no draft capital, no future investment. And the Bears grant them the credit that they deserve. They roll the dice. And this might be the pivotal addition of this whole team for the year. And this is hearing from him after the game. You've got to make your opportunities count. And with those type of quarterbacks, he's talking about Dart, you see them make guys miss, how Caleb makes people miss. So Allen, he had a lot of trust in letting me go after the quarterback. Go get him down so the guys won't cover for long and get off the field. I mean, he's been blitzing Gardner Johnson. They didn't pick him up either time. He basically came in free. But closing the play, that's a different skill, not just getting into the backfield. And Gardner Johnson, he works the angles and he has the speed and the tenacity to finish these plays off. Now, another reason that he's a fit, C.J. Gardner, he's playing in a position that he wasn't asked to play earlier in the season. Because the one move that people who love Philadelphia, the one move that they didn't like was getting rid of C.J. Gardner Johnson to begin with. When he went to the Texans, didn't work out once again. Chicago gets to reap the benefits of that. So where'd he go? He had an odd 2025 season before. Like I said, it was Houston and then Baltimore. But Allen, he's not going to be afraid to move him around. He was playing safety in Baltimore and in Texas. That's where he was asked to play. But Chicago, they're like, look, come here, familiar scheme, great group of guys, great locker room. You know the defensive coordinator. We're going to play you at cornerback again. We're going to put you in the slot and see what you can do. And that's part of his problem with the Texans is that he butted heads with the team. I can't say that he should have. He should have been a little more, probably a little more humble, to put it lightly. But he butted heads with the team because he wanted to be put in a different place on the defense to make an impact. The Texans didn't want to, so they released him. Didn't work out with Baltimore. So what do we have here? The Bears, worst case, he balls out and the Bears look to re-sign him for 2026 if he keeps this up, right? They might. You're looking at it, he's only 27. He's already shown that he can blitz. He's already shown that he can play this Swiss Army knife type of role in Dennis Allen's offense or defense. And can you imagine the type of creativity that our defensive coordinator can do once Kyler Murray gets back? Once Jalen Johnson is available to play towards the end of the season, and it's starting to look like now a lot of pundits have a 50-50% chance of the Bears actually making the playoffs. Jalen Johnson can come back and have something to play for. Our season isn't going to be just a developmental year. So, okay, I'm going to chill out. I don't want to jinx us here. But really the only caveats with this player, price, durability. He might want multiple years as security after bouncing around to 3 different teams in one season. Right now, he's making just under $1.2 million this season. What a great move by Ryan Poles. And he could also want to test the market. There's room for that. There's some time to think about that. But I think he feels like he plays his best ball with Dennis Allen. I think Dennis Allen agrees. I think he's going to opt to stay with the Bears if we can afford him and if we can bring him back. And then we'd be looking at a secondary with Jalen Johnson, Tyreek Stevenson not being the number one corner, him playing where he's supposed to be, Kyler Gordon, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and still have Brisker and an aging Byard in the secondary. I mean, what's not to like about that? And then not to mention Terrell Smith. A lot of us have forgotten about him. He looked like a marquee player that was definitely ascending before he got hurt. He's going to be back next year. So many good things to wait for, to look forward to in this secondary. We've just got to hold down the fort until everybody gets healthy. Now let's even hear from a Bears cornerback. Let's hear from Nahshon Wright. This is what he had to say about Gardner-Johnson, and this is via the Athletic's Keith Fishbane. Like an energy bug, consistently out there talking to guys. Even when we were down, he was kind of like keeping us going. Come on, we got to make this play, get a stop. So just the Energizer Bunny for us. That's not going to be his nickname. That's what Nahshon Wright said that he was. So next up for him and the Bears, we're talking about the 4-5 Minnesota Vikings. If you remember, they handed Chicago their opening season loss. I hated that game. I lost a bet on that game. The Bears jumped out to a 17-6 lead through 3 quarters in the game. If you remember, they rallied with quarterback J.J. McCarthy, threw 2 touchdown passes, ran for another one, and led Minnesota to a 3-point comeback victory. Minnesota's been looking a little sloppy as late. They've lost 3 of its last 4 games, but the Bears have won 6 of their last 7. Feel like a different team. I think we're seeing something special develop here. We've got our own mistakes to iron out, but I think it's looking so good under this coaching staff. We have so much to look forward to, so much to celebrate, and let's not be pessimistic, Bears fans. Fan stands for fanatic. This is supposed to be fun. Let's enjoy this winning streak. Let's look forward to the future as well. Let's just enjoy it. We haven't had something like this in quite some time. Bear down. I'm going to continue to be here for the rest of the week on the daily, giving you Chicago Bears news from a positive viewpoint most of the time, unless it's warranted. You guys have been awesome. Hey, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. We are pushing towards 10,000 views. So much opens up on this channel with 10,000 subs. So please hit the sub button. Would love to have you aboard as part of this community. Bear down, and we'll talk soon. See ya.